Here on Max Truck 9906, you'll find car reviews of cars both new and old.
If I was to just get in like this, I'd take my head off here. So you kind of have to go like this, and then you can put your head back up, if you see what I'm saying. To tell you the truth, I'm not that tall of a guy. The trunk is up higher, and there's a little bit of a gap there. I don't know if you can see that. This side of the trunk is down. It just doesn't line up. I think that's just due to cheap build quality, really. It makes this weird squeaky noise, which it just shouldn't do that. Flimsy. You can see the whole bumper moving when I do that. Here's the bumper not lining up correctly. Looking at the keys, this key design, I believe this key design is well over a decade old, and the key feels very cheap and chintzy. I'm not a Hyundai fan, if you want to say that. Hey Hyundai fans, here we have a 2016 Elantra. This is a rental vehicle, and as you'll notice here, the 2012 Scion XB is not here. For those of you that aren't subscribed and you don't know what the 2012 XB is, the XB is our personal vehicle, and I already posted a video explaining why we have this rental car. So if you haven't seen that video, feel free to click the link right here that I'm going to show right now. As for this guy here, this is, like I said, a 2016 Elantra, and I want to say it's the SE model. I'm not too familiar with Hyundai and Hyundai packages, so forgive me for the lack of exact information, since I haven't done any research on this and I'm not that familiar with Hyundai Kia products. Obviously it has a silver exterior. This one is tagged in Ohio. This is through Hertz Rental Cars. I also, in this review, might throw in a few personal opinions that I normally wouldn't do at a dealership, say, since we're renting this vehicle and I'm getting to experience it on more of a personal level. We'll start with this. This is not a big issue, but looking at the keys, this key design, I believe this key design is well over a decade old, and the key feels very cheap and chintzy, and as well do the key fobs. They look very dated and they feel very cheap and just not very good quality, but I guess that's not a huge issue. Lock button once locks the driver's door, or I'm sorry, press it once, it'll lock it. Press it twice, it'll make that meeping noise, which is, it's just there. Unlock button once unlocks the driver's, push it twice, and it unlocks the whole vehicle. Now, I'm going to do my best not to pick out the flaws as far as damage on this car, simply due to the fact that it's a rental, and I understand that rentals really just aren't taken care of and they really get abused. Especially this one here. I think this one's had a rough life. This is a 16, but it has over 30,000 miles on it, so it's really, I think it's had a tough life so far, but I think that it should be in better shape, being that it is a 2016. It's not even a full year old yet. Starting up front here, we're going to take a look at the grille. One thing I noticed, it makes this weird squeaky noise, which in my opinion it just shouldn't do that. Really cheap feeling to that. And down low here, this seems like it's really loose. I don't know if you can see that. And the bumper here, it moves quite a bit more than it should, I think, and it doesn't line up here. This is just stuff that I noticed after we got the car home. Right there, it doesn't line up. It's the same way on the other side. Even the headlights kind of feel, if you bump into them, you'll notice that they move. This here, nice tight gap here, or no gap, it's nice and tight against the headlight there. And you go over here, and you'll notice that there is a little bit of a gap there. It's not really even compared to the other side. Not stuff that's huge. I'm not going to beat the car too much because I understand there's Hyundai fans out there. Just stuff that I'm going to pick out as I walk around the car. So you do have the silver exterior, and stepping inside you have a gray cloth interior with a pattern in the center. Gray pattern. It's almost like a swirly looking pattern. This one doesn't have any floor mats in it. Looking at your driver's door panel, you have a soft touch material here, a really hard touch plastic up top here. That does feel kind of cheap. Your brushed chrome interior door handles, they seem pretty chintzy, not gonna lie. You have power windows, locks and mirrors, of course, storage and cup holder space in the doors. Your steering wheel is a vinyl wrapped 4-spoke with chrome inserts, brushed chrome inserts. Cruise control on the right, no volume or audio controls on the left hand side or anywhere on the steering wheel. Eco mode. Interior gauge cluster dimming. Traction control. This here is a soft to the touch dash, this top part of the dash, and this here turns into hard touch. You have a piano black plastic in the center. Up top here you have your audio controls. Above that you have a clock. Down low here you have your climate controls and your flashers above those. That button there, this might be minor, and I think that it is, but it looks like it came off of a Tonka truck. I'm just going to say that. This is your obviously your climate control button, and it's just, I think that wiggles around way too much. This is coming from somebody that drives a Toyota every day, Scion XB Toyota product, and is used to that, so maybe it's just that. But this right here, this is the same way. It's loose and it doesn't really seem like it's that great a quality. This here, I imagine that there's some kind of option here that's not coming on the SE package. Flop this up, you do have a 12-volt power outlet in there, a USB port, and auxiliary headphones hookup. Also a decent sized storage in there. You have a fake leather housing around your shifter with the piano black plastic and a little bit of a piano black plastic right there as well. We'll go ahead and start the vehicle up. $30,376 miles. One thing I do have to compliment is the gas mileage. Compared to the 2012 XB, it's way better than the Scion's gas mileage for sure. At 30,000 miles and being a 2016, I find it very unusual and very not normal that the alignment is off. Driving down the road, the steering wheel is like this when you're going straight, and folks, the alignment just shouldn't be off at 30,000 miles. Our Scion XB has just shy of 80,000, and it's a 2012 as mentioned, and the alignment is still straight, and we've never had to get it aligned. Audio
This challenge is staying on the field.
The audio system is pretty clear. It does get good reception, nothing to complain about there. Your CD insert just above your little screen there. Manual shiftable mode. 2 cup holders with brushed chrome surrounding them. Your e-brake here in the center. This here, this feels really cheap, the way that it kind of just like, it just flops like that. I think it's kind of chintzy. Not a very big center console, but that's not really a huge issue. The horn, unlike that sound of a something dying or something in pain earlier, very puny sound, the alarm sound, it's different from that. It's actually a full-size car horn, so that's a pretty good thing. Auto down window. Hyundai even took the time to write on there auto down, so you would know that it's auto down, for those of you that wouldn't figure out that it's auto down. And this is probably just something that's my fault, but earlier I was getting in the other side, sometimes when I ride in the XB, not all the time, but when I do, I've noticed that the entryway is pretty large, unlike this. So when I went to get in this car earlier, when the rental place came to pick us up from dropping the Scion off, I rammed my head on this pillar here because I was just so used to a car that has a larger entryway here. You almost kind of have to, I'm going to see if I can turn the camera, you almost kind of have to duck. I mean, if I was to just get in like this, I'd take my head off here. So you kind of have to go like this, and then you can put your head back up, if you see what I'm saying. Maybe not for all people, but just for me. And to tell you the truth, I'm not that tall of a guy. So looking at your legroom here, it's, I would say, about average. This seat is all the way back, and average to actually pretty decent. It's not cramped or crowded at all, so that's a good thing. No cup holders or nothing going on down there. You do have a flop down armrest here. These are my rags out of the XB that I forgot to bring in. Flop down with cup holders. Your headliner here. This headliner almost feels like it's not real. There's no cushion to it. It feels like almost just like almost kind of like cardboard that's been painted gray, and it even looks cheap. It's maybe that's not something I should pick on, but I just find it very different than our XBs that has a little bit of cushion to it. There's your gas door right over there. Who knows? I haven't even looked in here. There might be a couple of bodies in here, so let's just be careful here. Hang on. Whew. All right, good. We're clear. Decent sized trunk, actually. Not too small. Not too big, but not too small. Storage tray down there. Foam tray. Looks like there's no spare in here. I'm guessing that the spare tire might be down under here. And no, it actually looks like there's no spare there either. Maybe it just didn't come with the spare, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway, it is very quiet listening to it run. This is another thing that I'm going to pick out. Not a huge deal, but to me, I think that it is. In my eyes, maybe not to you. Your trunk here is very uneven and it's very noticeable. This here part of the tail light is down lower than that, and then you go over here and it's up higher than that. I don't know if you can see that. And then if you look at this part here, the trunk is up higher and there's a little bit of a gap there. I don't know if you can see that. It doesn't line up right. I think that's just due to cheap build quality, really. And you go over here and this side of the trunk is down. It just doesn't line up. That's very cheap build quality, I think. And then you come over here, the bumper is not lined up. You can see that it's sticking out. Not really, it just shouldn't be like that in my opinion. I'm not gonna do this in every video, but like I said, had to experience driving this car and living with it for a day, so I figured I'd just give you a personal look at it. The good news is, on my part, is we're taking this car back and we're going to upgrade to a full size and get something a little bit nicer, hopefully. I am not going to get in this side, just simply for time's sake, since we're losing daylight. This is the headrest. I took it off because I actually found that quite uncomfortable compared to the Scion. The headrest, when straight, kind of sticks forward and almost kind of pushes your neck and makes it uncomfortable. So I figured I'd take it off, and I just rested my head in between there. Here's a look at your back door panel. I'm not sure if I showed you that already, but there you go. Same materials as the front. Excuse the papers there. The seats do have some staining, which I think that's simply just due to people that don't take care of rentals, which unfortunately that's just what happens. This glove box, it's supposed to be hydraulic, but it doesn't really feel hydraulic. Once it's down, it kind of just flops around like this, which I guess that's okay. And this here was left in here by the previous renter, so it wasn't cleaned out all the way, but that's a whole nother story. We're not going to get into that. That's not really a huge issue at all. Another power outlet here with somewhat of a storage area there. This here piece is, I think this moves around a little bit too much. I think it's kind of feels almost like it's loose. I don't know if you can see it moving or not, and I'm not even having to push it that hard. You can see that I think it's just too gappy there. It's not as tight as our Scion XB is, which for a brand new car you'd think it would be tighter, and it's just not. Here's the bumper not lining up correctly, and here's more of the flimsy. You can see the whole bumper moving when I do that, almost like it's just been wrecked, or like I said, the build quality is just not there. There we are. It is absolutely filthy under here, and that's not to blame the car. That's to blame the company that cleans them, I guess. And the whole car is really just dirty. It was dirty when we picked it up. The inside not so much, but the outside was pretty dirty. But I guess it's all right. The steering and the way that it handles the brakes, starting with the brakes aren't anywhere near as touchy and good as our Scions, even with our Scion having double the miles almost, or actually, yeah, over double the miles. The gas pedal, it doesn't have that extra kick. Now I do understand our Scion does have the dual overhead cams, but this is newer, so you'd think it might have a little bit more extra pep. And the way that this car handles, really, after driving our Scion XB and then coming to this, it almost feels like our Scion is the car that's a 2016 with 30,000 miles. And it feels like this is the 4-year-old car with 80,000 miles. And this actually drives like it has more than 80,000 miles. So it might be due to the rental, the fact that it is a rental. I know a lot of rental fields have these Elantras, but it also might be due to build quality. So I'll let you guys go ahead and decide that. I've injected enough of my personal view of this car, and again, only because it's a rental and I had to experience a day with it. I simply just, I'm not gonna lie, I just don't, I'll say I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a Hyundai fan, if you want to say that. I'm more of a Toyota fan, leaning towards the Toyota, and maybe it's a little bit of bias because of our Scion XB. There you go. That's the personal review and look at the 2016 non-redesign, the fleet model 2016 Hyundai Elantra. I believe it is the SE package. Thanks for watching, and please check out my other videos, guys.
Here on Max Truck 9906, you'll find car reviews of cars both new and old.